Which of the following is harder to collect? A third print of Hulk 377? The Delato variant of Amazing Spider-Man 667? Finding one of the leather Evil Ernie Octagon editions? Or trying to collect the complete run of 4-color comics? While they're all pretty difficult, the winner has to go to collecting this absolute powerhouse of a comic book title, 4-Color Comics by Dell Comics. What's up, comic and pop culture fans? This is James with Minhunter Comics, and today we're going to look at the amazing and fascinating story, key issues, and spotlight on comics' most prolific title ever. In the golden age of comics, the only colors used were cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. In '39, Dell Comics decided to publish an anthology of comics reprinting newspaper comic strips, and they settled on the name 4-Color Comics to represent the only colors being used in comics at the time and the weight it gives to the medium. What began as a reprint title slowly became the breeding ground for some of the biggest licenses in pop culture ever getting their first appearances in stories and comics. Donald Duck, Little Lulu, Turok, Scrooge McDuck, Tonto, and many more. For a comic title that less than 10% of modern comic fans even know about, let's look at some of 4-Color Comics' crazy milestones. It holds the record for the most issues within any comic book title still. Move over Action Comics and Detective Comics, both of which have been active since the late 30s into today, and yet still this 4-Color Comics title has more issues published in just 24 years than many decades like these other two. 4-Color Comics are often remembered as the lucky comic book title that introduced the comic medium to many of the most popular Disney characters ever. We'll circle back to that when we talk about key comics. But 4-Color Comics wasn't your typical anthology series, as it would swap stories from character to character, or from TV show to movie adaptation every comic or so. Sometimes they were numbered. Sometimes they weren't. Sometimes they said 4-Color Comics. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they had different interior pages or back covers than the same very issue. More than a few times, there were long-lost missing numbered issues from the overall run. That's right, folks. Especially near the end of the run, there's about 33 comics that are seemingly lost to the ether, that are just missing from the anthology. The numbers just disappear. You'll be collecting issue 1216 and start looking for issue 1217 just to realize it doesn't exist. Or does it? There's a group of comic hunters online that have sought the lost 4-Color comic books and actually have some leads on what happened and if they're real or not. In the December 1996 issue of Comic Book Marketplace, Dwayne Dimmock claimed to have located all of the missing 4-Color Dell comics. He painstakingly tracked down Dell's other titles and sought the original art for the secrets to these lost comics. He found that Dell had started using different indicas to mark their books, meaning other titles were technically containing the missing 4-Color issues. Check out this list for the full list tracking down the missing 4-Color books to these separate titles. There'd be an issue of Barbie and Ken that was published that was supposed to have been a 4-Color book filling the missing link, and the same with Bullwinkle and Jungle War Stories and more. Now, how could this happen? Where's the editor? Well, it's pretty interesting actually. Let's take the example of Scrooge McDuck, massively popular character and uncle to Donald Duck. His first appearance was in 4-Color 178, and had 2 more appearances sprinkled in later. Due to the popularity of the character, he was given his own title, but unlike a normal new title, it was lazily given the issue number of 4, since it was technically his 4th appearance. This happened with many characters that 4-Color made famous. Their own title wouldn't start with an issue labeled number 1 because that character had appeared previously in 4-Color. But you couldn't bank on it always happening because when Little Lulu finally got her own comic run after the successes in 4-Color Comics, it started with issue number 1, as it should. So many inconsistencies with Dell's publication policies. This open door policy between separate titles within Dell could possibly account for how so many 4-Color issues were so hard to track down and went missing. They were just placed accidentally in the wrong title. You therefore can collect the complete run with some patience, but you'll need the knowledge to recognize the missing 4-Color issues within the pages of other titles. Yeah, 4-Color comics were clearly meant to be read and enjoyed and not collected, because clearly it's a bit of a collection nightmare. Now let's talk about key issues. I said that when they started, they were reprints of newspaper comics, and that's correct, especially that first volume of 2-volume. Within this was the first appearance of Donald Duck, and may be the most valuable 4-color comic in the lot due to the popularity of this character. This is from the first volume of 4-color and is highly sought after. Volume 2 of 4-color began even before Volume 1 ended. Yeah, the inconsistencies really rack up. They really didn't like planning. The second volume started original storytelling and even included Carl Barks' introduction to Donald Duck in 4-color number 9. You know Carl Barks, the all-time master and genius behind Donald Duck and Scrooge McDuck. Other big 4-color keys are number 16, First Porky Pig, 29, the classic Donald Duck and Mummy's Ring story, 38, the first cowboy photograph cover, 71, first 3 Cavalleros, 74, first Little Lulu, 178, first Scrooge McDuck, plenty more, first Tweety Bird and Sylvester, first appearance of Peter Pan, first Beetle Bailey, and plenty of other licensed characters. Issue 596 is the first appearance of Turok, which gained massive popularity and eventually its own title, as did so many of these characters that were first given light in 4-color comics. 4-color comics were clearly made in an era that didn't really worry about logging their numbers and consideration of detail. It purely was made at a fast pace to churn out 4 to 5 comics a month for the enjoyment of its young audiences and nothing more. The concept of collecting didn't really even exist. Because of this and other factors, 4-color comics seems to perfectly represent the American pop culture society of the time. Historian Gary Brown wrote, "In the 4-color series, you can get a good sense of what America was like in the 50s. Admittedly, it might be a white, middle-class version of the country, but the series hit on every fad, icon, and every popular piece of culture that America embraced during this time." Dell Comics released anywhere from 1 to a half dozen 4-color titles a month, touching on topics such as Old West, animation, newspaper comic strips, radio programs, TV programs, movies, and even pop music. For the most part, the series reflected what entertained America in the 50s. Not just kids, but adults as well. So there you have it, folks. 4-color comics is a fascinating story that targeted fast, quick, licensed pieces and just making good content for the people. Don't forget to subscribe, comment down below. We got the 12,000 subscriber giveaway coming up and you're going to win a PS5. At 15,000 subscribers, one of you, I'm just buying your favorite comic book, up to $500 value. And as always, my friends, keep on hunting.